I wish this vlog post could be about how I'm starting my writing today, and I'm excited and terrified about that, or how great our weekend was. But as the title suggests, I don't feel like that would be an appropriate topic for today. Over the weekend, I looked at porn for about an hour. I wanted to talk about that experience here. Let's get this out of the way because I'm like just dreading seeing this in the comments because it just gets my skin all prickly. But I'm willing to take full responsibility for this. I'm not excusing it. I don't know what your moral stance is on it, but let's get that out of the way. Now let's talk about what to me is the more interesting part, because in the past that was like all we ever said. It was like, oh, I looked at porn, and then everyone kind of said this thing like, well, you need to stop. And I was like, yeah, I need to stop. And then there is this like language like, oh, I'm so stupid, I'm such an idiot, I don't know why I did that. And then it was like, you need to stop. Yeah, you need to stop. I think I know most of that. And actually even some of that I don't know if I even believe anymore, because I feel like that was really like shallow pep talk language to address a fairly like deep issue. I know some of you guys deal with this issue. I know every one of you knows someone that deals with this issue, whether you know that or not. And while I would prefer to be like an inspirational hero to some of you, I don't think that's better in the long run for this vlog or for you. So the last time I looked at porn, which was about 4 months ago, I told myself, next time I'm gonna like talk about it like right after, which I don't wanna do, but I think is important for you guys to get a full picture of our life. I do see it as a big deal in some ways, but I don't see it as big of a deal in certain ways as I used to. But I feel like the Christian internet culture will have a problem with this. Like, there's plenty of YouTube videos of people making and watching porn, but for some reason addressing it in an honest way in the Christian world is just not something we've seen. So that's kind of where some of my nervousness is coming from. So I started off, I don't know what I was feeling, you know? I don't know why I did it. I'm completely sexually satisfied in my marriage. My wife and I have never been closer. I don't even like want more sex. I do want more something, and I don't even know what that something is. But sometimes I find myself late at night like scrolling through Instagram feeds or rechecking Facebook or looking at websites I don't even care about. And that's when I know that I'm like looking for something. Sometimes looking at something leads to looking at something else, which is a little more exciting, and then that something leads to something else, which is a little bit more exciting again. You know, in the past I used to have this like clear definition, like this is porn and this is not, and this is okay to look at and this is not okay to look at. That's not very helpful for me anymore. What's more helpful for me is to look at what is my heart behind it and where is it taking me, and do I want to go there? And I know with porn, it only goes one direction for me. Once I get interested in looking at a girl with less clothes or in suggestive poses, then I want to look at a girl with less clothes and more suggestive poses. It never goes backwards. I also know I never like where it ends up. I don't like where the road takes me. Just like deciding that it's bad, that's, I don't know, that's not enough for me. Like these categories, I feel like they're kind of like fake and false, and we make them to feel better about ourselves, but I actually also believe that Jesus is more concerned with the heart. And what we consider porn, some people might not consider porn, and what some people consider not porn, or what some people consider porn, like, you know, some Middle Eastern Muslim worlds or whatever, we consider like, oh, that's just an everyday outfit. But I had this reading yesterday. I was meeting with someone that I sponsor, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna share this with these people here, but I didn't think it would be about myself. This is what it has, and it's referring to step 1 in 12-step groups, which if you're not familiar with what step 1 is, step 1 says, we admitted we were powerless. And for like sex-based programs, it says we were admitted we were powerless over our lust and their lives had become unmanageable. The second half of this step is about our unmanageability. our inability to cope with life on life's terms. It is our experience that a life driven by lust brings with it confusion, chaos, misery, and disaster. Some of us have been arrested, others were lucky and didn't get caught. We have suffered in numerous ways and caused suffering for others, including those most dear to us. We have lost marriages or limped along for years in empty marriages. We were too preoccupied with our lust drug to foster intimacy or pay attention to the simplest needs of our husbands, wives, or children. We disregarded our conscience and we invoked God's help while continuing the same sick behavior. We experienced moral revulsion at doing that which we didn't want to do, but felt compelled to do it nonetheless. This describes me exactly yesterday. I knew where this road leads. I knew this isn't helpful for me. I knew it's not what I want. I know it's not what God wants, but I did it anyways. I just reached this moment where I was like, fuck it. The short term outweighs the long term. And I regretted it. You know, I had like almost like a hangover feeling afterwards. And I love this language because it really shows the dangers of lust for me, or porn, are not that it's bad. You know, it's not just, moral lines are not arbitrary. Moral lines compromise relationships. And I need to remember this. Like, they compromise relationships with humans, and they compromise relationships ultimately with God. And that's really hard for me to remember because as a kid looking at a Playboy, it's like, how is this hurting God again? Like, or how is this hurting anyone else? I didn't know how to make that link. I was just told it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And I'm like, well, it's fun. And how bad can it really be? Like, but people just kept on saying the same thing. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And now, I don't know, I really need to stay in this world where I'm able to make this connection and see how it's harmful to me, first of all, to those around me, and ultimately to God. I love how it says, lust brings with it confusion, chaos, misery, and disaster. I've experienced that emotionally and physically. And then it says, we are too preoccupied with our lust drug to foster intimacy or pay attention to the simplest needs of our husbands, wives, or children. This is why I've decided that lust or porn is not helpful for me. It is because it is all about me consuming. It's me consuming images, me consuming people, me using other people for my own benefit. And I have never found that to be helpful in any aspect of life. And an hour of looking at porn is just an hour of consumption. And I feel the same way after I walk out of a movie theater after watching a crappy movie and just eating a full tub of popcorn, or after gorging myself at a buffet or eating candy for an hour. I just feel like, sick. Like I want to take a shower from the inside out. It's just because I was just like consuming, sometimes mindlessly. And for me, the life was, we were not meant to consume. Like, we actually weren't designed that way. It's the weirdest thing. Like, we need to eat and stuff like that. But we were built to worship God and to serve others. And I believe that, in my heart of hearts, I believe that I will be happiest when I'm doing that. And porn isn't just bad. It actually prevents that from happening. It's a violation of what I was made for. It's hard to remember that. But that's what I want to live for. Yesterday, I wasn't able to remember that. I'm going to end this just by sharing this thing that my sponsor told me. He said that for him, knowing the consequences are not enough for him to change. And I feel that. Like, I knew, okay, something bad could happen, or this could hurt Cammy's feelings, or, you know, I'm going to have a hangover. But I was just like, I still want to do it. But what I need for change, and this is what he told me, is we need relationship. Love through relationship. And that's where I really want to know how this affects my relationship with Jesus. And I was listening to this song yesterday that really, I don't know, is really what I needed to hear. And it was called Deeper Well. And I'm going to put the link down below just because I think it's a really good song. It just said, like, Jesus, take me to the deeper well because I don't want to thirst again. I'm just learning when I'm scrolling through these Instagram feeds, when I'm looking at porn, I'm thirsty. I'll look for love really anywhere. Porn for me was something that I grew up with. It was something that was a regular part of my life for about 20 years. It was something I had no ability or very little direction in how to deal with besides just being told again and again that it was bad, which didn't really work for me. You know, there's this quote by this guy named G.K. Chesterton that he said something like, every man that goes to a brothel is really looking for God. And I believe that. I'm looking for something, and that something I'm looking for is actually good. I want connection with God. I'm also not going to find it in porn, and I feel better today. You guys, I'm not going to let this get me down. I have tools in place, people I can talk to. I told Cami about it. I'm processing it this way, and I'm doing some readings that just help me get out of this like self-pity spiral that's like, you suck. I mean, I'm not going to listen to that this time around. And I'm trying more and more to just be like, you know, Jesus loves me just as much as before. And I'm going to learn from this. It was about 4 months since the last time I looked at porn. I want to go further this time. I don't know, maybe this is TMI or not really the point of this, but it's been almost 3 years since I masturbated. That used to be connecting the physical with the imagination part of porn used to be really valuable to me, or a regular part of behavior. And through getting a lot of help, I've been able to disconnect those things because masturbation just feels very consumptive too. I'm not saying it's like wrong for everyone or anything like that, but for me, it's never really helped me accomplish my goals with sexuality, my big picture goals of like wanting to serve and worship. I'm glad that I have a sobriety date that I recognize with other people that care about me in this area. And I didn't lose that sobriety date, but I do want to acknowledge this kind of like relapse. We're going to keep on publishing videos that are honest, in the hopes that the honesty itself is inspirational and offers you guys strength and hope from learning from our experience. But that's all we can do. I'm also going to provide a little bit of time for Cami to share her take on this. Her opinion is very valuable and helpful for me. We haven't talked about this very much, so I don't know what she's going to say. She hasn't heard what I just told you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully with a more normal vlog.
Whoa.
Those are just prompts.
Okay. It's hard to hear Ben tell me that he's looked at porn, but I mostly feel glad that he's sharing it with me and not hiding it. I also believe, and I haven't always believed this, but I also believe it's really not about me, and it's not even about the sex or the images for Ben. It's something deeper than that, something that him and I actually share. Whatever deeper is going on inside of him that made him feel like he needs to look at porn. So that really helps me not be resentful about it or feel shitty, like, oh, I'm doing something wrong or I'm not good enough. Like, I don't believe those things anymore. In the past, I think my response was one of denial. Like, I didn't even really like go there. He would share it with me and I'd just say like, okay. I didn't really know where to put that. I didn't know how to think about it. I didn't know how to handle it. But I do think that underneath all of that denial was some resentment, like, oh, am I not good enough for you? Or what's your problem? Kind of like I'm better than him feelings. Also feelings of I feel bad about myself. Like, I'm not doing enough. This must be my fault. Which also leads to resentment, I think. I think that might be it.